Hi folks, well I've been doing some more work on the bike. I've been troubleshooting the electrical problems, trying to get to the bottom of what's going on with the electrics and why when I press the starter button nothing happens at the starter motor. And basically what I've been doing is I've just been kind of poking about in the electrics, kind of bypassing parts and poking about with the multimeter, trying to work out what's going on. To be honest, I'm not great at electrics, but basically just been kind of bypassing a lot of the components to try and figure out what's actually faulty. I've kind of studied the circuits in my Haynes manual, which is here. I've been studying this excuse me, and it's I've kind of scribbled all over it. Been basically kind of tracing the circuits, working out what goes where. I'm trying to figure out which components could possibly be causing the problem. And there's kind of, well, there's a few different components that could have been, like, if you trace the circuit from the battery, you go through the starter solenoid and you come down to the starter switch, I think it is next, and then it goes up to the fuse box. No, sorry, it goes from the starter solenoid down to the ignition barrel, and then if you trace it back up, it goes to the fuse box, and then from the fuse box it goes down to the starter switch, and from the starter switch it goes back up to the starter relay. So like the juice goes from the battery through the main fuse, which is like built into the starter relay, all around all these different components, then back up to the starter relay. Okay, I'm just kind of trying to cut a long story short here, because I've basically just spent hours troubleshooting this, trying to figure out what's going on with it. So basically I ended up bypassing everything. I bypassed the fuse box, I bypassed the starter switch, I bypassed the clutch diode, I bypassed the clutch switch, I bypassed the side stand switch, which is this thing down here. That's the side stand switch, that's the clutch diode. Basically just bypassed all of these, just using these little bits of wire. Basically just made up these bits of wire myself. It's just a bit of wire with a spade connector on each end, and just use it to bypass the component. I've got another one somewhere which has got the female connectors on, and just basically put it into the block connector or whatever, and just completely bypass the component by bridging, one wire to the other appropriate wire, kind of thing. So I tried everything and I basically couldn't get any kind of life at the starter motor circuit at all. The starter relay wasn't actuating at all. Like when I would bypass stuff, turn the key and press the starter button, there'd be no sound from the starter relay at all. It's just like it was completely dead. And I didn't think it was the starter relay itself that was a problem, because it's a brand new starter relay. I just replaced that. So in the end what I did was I just kind of thought, well, I've bypassed everything now and I can't find what the problem is. So I decided what to do is I would just basically bypass the complete circuits. So what I did was I made up some more connectors with kind of connectors like this, but with female plugs, because it's male spade connectors on the starter relay. You probably can't see in here, but basically what I've worked out is, from studying a diagram, that you can bypass it by going from red to red-yellow, which is what I've done here. So I've just basically put one of these U-shaped things just from red to red-yellow, and then I've got another cable which goes onto the green, and what I do is I just basically touch that onto the chassis. When I touch it onto the chassis, a few things happen. One thing is that I get a spark where the end of the connector goes onto the chassis. I get a little crackle. It's kind of hit and miss. Sometimes you get a crackle and sometimes you don't. Depends exactly where you touch on the chassis. what I've been finding is some bits of the chassis it works and some it doesn't. I think it's to do with like some parts of the chassis are painted or whatever, I don't know, but anyway. There's actually 4 circuits here, but one of these just goes down to the regulator rectifier, so that one doesn't really matter in this context because I'm not really concerned with that. I just want to try and get the starter motor to turn over. Yeah, so basically I bridged one to the other, and then the green one just made up a wire, just touched it on the chassis, which is it's basically bypassing the whole earth circuit. Okay, so the earth circuit, like the positive circuit, goes via the ignition barrel, the fuse box, the starter button, and then back to the relay. Okay, the negative circuit from the starter relay goes via a whole bunch of other things like clutch diode, clutch switch. I'm not going to trace out all these wires because I don't think you can really see what's what in the video anyway in a diagram like that. So basically it's clutch diode, clutch switch, side stand switch, and then as you can see the side stand switch is like the end of the circuit that goes into the green like backbone of the loom, which is the earth. You can see that earth symbol there, earth's on the chassis. So essentially what you're doing when I plug that cable in there and touch on the chassis is just bypassing all of that. Okay. So pretty much what this kind of leads me to conclude is that this loom, well, it's got to be one of two things basically. Either the loom is just complete rubbish, and it's like they're just, I don't know, there's a break somewhere which is kind of stopping the circuit, like an actual break in the wiring, or there's a loose connection somewhere, or there's maybe multiple breaks, multiple loose connections, something like that. I don't know, honestly. I mean, that's, you know, so it's either basically it's a dodgy loom, or there's a component somewhere that I've missed which is causing the problem, and I've basically not found it and bypassed it. But I don't think that's the case, because I've been really thorough. What I've done is again, you probably can't see this in the video, but I've kind of like drawn little arrows on the circuits to show which circuit goes where, and I've carefully traced everything all the way around, you know, from the relay down to the ignition barrel, back up to the fuse box, back down to the starter button, back up to the relay, and then that's the positive circuit, negative circuit, traced it, and it goes to the clutch diode, the clutch switch, and back over to the side stand switch, then into the backbone, which goes to the earth. So I'm pretty sure I haven't missed anything. I really don't think I've missed anything. If anyone knows anything of any other component in a CBR 900 starter circuit, right, excuse me, that I've not already bypassed, so I bypassed the fuse box, the starter button, the clutch diode, the clutch switch, and the side stand switch. So if you know of anything else that might be in that circuit that could be causing the problem, please put something in the comments, because it might be really useful and I would really appreciate it. But basically what I'm thinking is that the loom is just rubbish, so I'm probably just going to have to replace the loom. So I'm thinking about, maybe they've got a few different options. I could maybe just make up a really simple loom myself, like literally just buy a bunch of wire and just wire all the components together, just make really simple circuits, you know, just like battery, switch, component, earth kind of thing. You know what I mean? Just make it really simple. So I might do that. That's one option. Another option is to actually buy a custom loom. But anyway, what I'm going to do, rather than just ramble on here, I'm actually going to show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so right, let's see. So this is the multimeter, right? Multimeter, what I've done is, to get a good connection, I put it into a little ring connector, and I push that in. It's quite solid, and I've screwed it down using the Allen bolt onto the starter relay, and then the other end, oh, it's actually fallen out, but this the negative, what I've done is I've put another one on here, another one of these ring connectors, pushed that in there, so it definitely makes a good connection. You can see this is the end of the loom, right? This is the plug that goes onto the starter relay. Thought I heard a crackle then, but no, I think it was just a tape actually on that. But anyway, so that's the plug, that's where the main fuse goes, that's the plug that goes onto the starter relay. This is a starter relay here, so you can see how I've bypassed it. I've got basically a loop that goes from one pin to the other that I was talking about before. And then this wire here, this is the earth wire, okay? So basically I've got that. I was going to bolt that on originally, but what I found is this is basically where I make the circuit, so we should get a little crackle. It's a bit hit and miss, but here goes. See how you get a little crackle there. Now what I'm going to do, just bear with me a second, because what I'm going to do, I'm just going to turn the music off, just in case you can't hear the starter relay. But listen to this, right? Listen, I'm going to shut up, okay, and you can listen to the starter relay. See? Right, so that, like I said, there's several things happen here. You get a spark there, starter relay goes. Now watch the multimeter. Now remember, this pin is not part of the circuit that I'm connecting, right? The circuit that I'm connecting is the starter button circuit, okay? This is the circuit that should go via the starter button there, okay? That's the circuit that I'm connecting. The multimeter is wired into the circuit that actually puts juice straight from the battery to the starter motor, okay? So this proves that the starter motor, that the relay is not the problem, because the relay clearly is working, which you can see here. Okay, there you see. See, it works every time. It doesn't work sometimes when you touch it on here for some reason. I think that must be painted or something. It looks like bare aluminium, but it doesn't seem to work, so I'm guessing that's actually got kind of paint on it. If you touch it on any of the bolt heads though, I think it should. Yeah, there you go, see, touch on that bolt head there, it works. Touch it, I don't know, it doesn't really matter, that's kind of the idea. So clearly the battery's fine, the starter motor relay is fine. I think basically it's the loom that's the problem. So I'm going to have to get a new loom, maybe, or I'm going to have to make a loom, or I'm going to have to buy a custom loom or something. I'm going to have a think about it. I was thinking about possibly a Moto Gadget, but they're really expensive. And yeah, so I don't know. If anyone's got any ideas as to the cheapest way to resolve this issue, or if anyone's got any experience of making their own loom or anything like that, if you want to put something in the comments, that would really be appreciated. So thanks for watching.